Welcome, everyone, to today's interview. I'm thrilled to introduce our guest, Allison Nordenbrock Brown. Allison's a seasoned marketing strategist with a remarkable background in propelling startups to success. With a robust career that spans in-house agency marketing and operational roles, Allison brings a wealth of experience in marketing and business development. Allison is the founder of Norden Marketing, where she leverages her expertise to drive the growth and market presence of early stage companies. Her passion for innovation and deep understanding of go-to-market strategies has been instrumental in helping startups navigate the challenging landscape of launching and scaling their businesses. Today, we're diving into Allison's journey, exploring the insights she's gathered from working with startups and discuss the vital role of go-to-market strategies for early stage companies. This conversation promises to be incredibly valuable for small business startup founders and anyone listening that's interested in the dynamic world of startups. Enjoy. Hey, good morning, Allison. Thanks for joining me.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely, Allison. So I love hearing your story and wanted you to share it with some of our listeners about a little bit about your career and what led you to start working with startups.
I have been very lucky to be in startups for my whole career. So when I graduated college, I actually had a job prior to graduation, and I was working at Pondurance. So that was still a cybersecurity company, much more of a scale up now, but at the time it was still very much in startup mode. So I think I was employee number 31. And then I got to be part of some pretty rapid growth. We got up to 60 employees in the time that I was there within that 4 years. And I got to really experience that. And I really fell in love with working with startups and educating about STEM careers specifically. So one of my roles when I was at Pondurance was really, I was catch-all marketing as marketers really have to be in startup environments. And among many other things, I was also reaching out to the community and seeing how we could get more kids into the office who wanted to learn about STEM and learn about careers in cybersecurity, specifically young girls who had never thought about that as a career path because there was a really big disparity of women in cybersecurity. And so through that, I got to be really involved with the community and learn about startup life and what tech careers are like and what that world is. And then I had a tour to agency for a few years, a couple different agencies. And I've been on my own now for a little over 2 years, working with startups and helping them figure out what go-to-market even looks like and where they should be spending their dollars when there's a limited number of dollars.
Yeah, definitely. Tight ship for most startups, regardless of how they're funded. And really love that you're bringing, especially the girls into the STEM side of it. As a girl dad myself, I try to talk to my girls about, man, there's a lot of different career paths out there. There's no gender requirement on any career. So go do what you love and really trying to get those guys invested into the STEM side of things, cybersecurity, technology, and software side, and really starting to see their eyes open up to the different technology out there.
That's awesome.
Which is awesome that led you to work with startups. So let me get this straight, Allison. You're really a startup helping startups start up?
That would be about right, Steve.
So now you've worked with all these startups. You're working with these startups. What are some of the challenges that you see these that continually evolve, and how do those challenges change from when they're an early stage company than when they maybe start growing into that mid-sized company and on?
Oh, where to begin? Startups have so many issues and so many problems because they're getting started. And a lot of times these founders haven't done it before. When they have, and even if the past company was a quote failure or it didn't do exactly what they wanted to say, I will put failure in quotes because it wasn't a failure if they tried and they still learned a lot. And so going into that second business and second startup, they usually often have a lot under their belts. But I usually am working with first-time founders and they have some wonderful ideas. I usually work with really nerdy people who have like fascinating concepts that they want to share, and it's going to fix some big real world problems, but they don't know how to communicate that. And so I do a lot on the communication side and helping them actually translate their value. The other piece, and the founders that I see who are most successful, and I'm trying to just pick a few things.
Yeah.
But the founders that are most successful are the ones that very quickly know what they're not good at or know what they don't want to do and can say, okay, I'm not an accountant. I need to hire an accountant, and get out of their own way for the company to be successful, because the most successful CEOs they are roadblock removers to help the rest of their team go out and be successful. And they aren't necessarily, they aren't the ones powering the ship, but they're steering it. So helping founders figure out what that looks like for them. And then also figuring out, what does revenue look like in a world that has been so focused on fundraising for the past, 20 or so years. And we're now seeing such a shift in money's tighter now. What does that look like as a founder who's going out to go and get to market and actually start producing revenue that they can reinvest back in the business?
Yeah, no, absolutely. The days of growth at all cost have starting to disappear. The chasing after and land of free money is disappearing from the VC and capital injections. It's really going back to, especially here in the Midwest, they say Midwestern beliefs of EBITDA and net profit and revenue. The cheapest revenue you're going to get is from your clients. So the cheapest capital you're going to get are getting your clients. So I love that side of you being able to work with these guys. And maybe can you share with us a little bit about how you work with them and then how that has led to success for some of these organizations?
Sure. So I come in, Norden comes in as a fractional marketing leader plus execution. So we kind of sit in that fractional CMO seat, but we also do. So we will be high level and say, okay, based on what we're hearing, we believe this is going to be the lowest hanging fruit for us to go after and lead to revenue as fast as possible, or to hit that goal. Sometimes the goal for my clients isn't necessarily revenue right away. It might be getting people on a wait list to eventually convert them to revenue, something like that in the midterm. So I have a client right now, and they are tangent. Have you seen Three Body Problem?
I have not, no,
Okay.
but
It's great. It's a great show. Highly recommend. But they are also a three body problem because they are, when you're a marketplace, you are like hosting the marketplace, you're really focused on the product itself, but then you also have to bring in people to both sides of the marketplace to make it work. And so you are like it has to be very strategic in order to go out and get them. And I've had a few clients like that in the past. But usually a lot of what I'm doing, I'm a therapist. So I'm not an actual therapist, but I'm a therapist for my clients. I always start off with what I call a business therapy session. My goal is to make them cry, and not in a bad way. I want them to feel so, like, I want to know what's actually overwhelming. I don't want to see the surface level. I want to get to the bottom of, why has this been so frustrating? And what is actually standing in the way of getting to your goals? Is it that you need better marketing? Is it that you have a leadership problem within your organization, or a communication issue, or a training issue? It could be a lot of different things. And so everything we do, we approach with a very scientific method. Everything is started with a hypothesis, and we test and we see results, and we adjust accordingly, based on how we think this ship should be steered and which direction we should go. And this has led to some really great results. The pitch decks we've done for our clients, we've helped enable them to raise at least 10 million in terms of my client portfolio over the past 2 years.
Congratulations. Yeah, no, that's exciting.
Thanks. And then I've also seen one successful exit. So I was part of an organization for about 10 months. And in that time, we increased their ARR by 150%. And then they went through a successful acquisition. And I got to be part of folding that product into the acquiring company too. And they've been really happy, and it's really cool to see that product now scale, even though it's not in my hands anymore.
That's definitely exciting. And I like that you say, hey, you're kind of the therapist in there, because I think as even a small business owner myself, there's a lot that goes on underneath the surface, underneath the smile that people always see out in the community, underneath the social, behind the social media curtain, what's out there. So really driving with an early stage founder on what their challenges are, I could see how that's super important and beneficial. So with that, as you give them advice, what other advice do you have for early stage founders that are really trying to build or lead a very fast and rapidly scaling company?
Biggest first piece of advice I can give is just learn how to become a good listener. And learning how to become a good listener is going to make you a better salesperson, because when you are leading your company, when you're just starting out, you are the top salesperson, and you better get good at it, whether you like it or not. I've had some clients in the past that refused to sell, which was really unfortunate and difficult, because as a lot of what I do is sales enablement at the end of the day. And it's how do we make it easier for you to go sell? And so here's a prospecting plan, and here's the materials you need. Here's the language. Go. I don't want to. Okay, well, I can't help you beyond that point. So number 2 is just being willing to do. If you are going to be a founder, you are going to be the CEO, but you're also the custodian. Are you making sure that it is all done without being ashamed or afraid to talk about all the many things that you're doing for your organization? Because chances are people are going to be more likely to buy from you if they know that you're doing everything, and they know that you're a good person, and you know that you're trying to grow and get the right people in place eventually, but not being too full of yourself to do anything, I would say.
Yeah, that's the I don't want to say jack of all trades, but being able to put the uniform on for just about any position within an organization. And one of the most critical ones I've always I agree with, I always say, is the sales side of it, is the founder. Some of the best led organizations I've ever worked in were sales led organizations that the founder was that initial salesperson, and really learn the product in the market, which led them into a better go-to-market fit and overall strategy of an organization. So definitely a big proponent of founder-led sales side of it as well.
Absolutely.
But that's the struggles real, I say, for an early stage founder. There's all the priorities, all the different things going on. You're trying to get, are you chasing after VC dollars or capital? Are you going after sales? But you have these companies that are early stage, typically on a budget. What are some of the strategies that an early stage company can do that are low cost but effective marketing strategies for an early stage company?
So I think this brings up an important point of, and I get asked this a lot of, okay, I'm a new company. When should I invest in marketing? When is the right time to do marketing? Here's the problem. Marketing is this giant cloud of a million different things, and marketing covers sales enablement, advertising, brand, long form copywriting, content. And it's so overwhelming. And so that's why, like, the first thing I recommend for those founders asking that question is, okay, what is your big goal? Like, I'm a fan of EOS. What is your rock? What is that big thing that you're marching towards that you want to make sure that your team accomplishes? If you accomplish nothing else, what is the one thing you want to accomplish? So if your one goal by the end of year 1 is, let's make it easy, is 20 customers. Great. How are we going to get them? Is it going to be going to trade shows and doing sales? Are we going to test out a cold email campaign? Is there some fun guerrilla marketing to do in there? I'm a big fan of guerrilla marketing. Low cost, big impact. I'm a big fan of just slapping stickers on things. Like, you never know how stuff like that can really make a big impact, and it's low cost. I will be the last person to ever tell you to buy Google ads. There are some times when it is very worthwhile, but I would say it's really only 50% of the time when people think they need them, they actually need them. Figuring out what that big goal is, and then figuring out what needs to happen in order to get there, and giving yourself wiggle room to say, okay, we have this hypothesis. What if this hypothesis doesn't work and we still need to reach this goal? Then you give yourself time to adjust and then try again in a different way. The best marketing I can recommend is just making sure that, and this is sales as well, kind of fits under the same bucket. Show up to events. Whenever you get invited to things, go. Just go. Especially if it's free, go. And if it just getting a ticket, not a big deal. Oh, another piece of advice I do want to include: boothing at conferences can seem really flashy and exciting. It is my opinion that it's not worth it unless you're going to be speaking. If you're speaking, invest in the booth. If you're not speaking, you're probably just going to be chasing your tail for like 3 business days, and you won't get anything else done because you're standing at this booth and talking to people who don't want to talk to you.
Standing in the same 10 by 10, trying to capture people, make eye contact as they run by you, and try to not make eye contact with you. They flood to your booth, but that's typically not how it goes. And yeah, I've always been a fan of not necessarily having a booth. Not saying that there's not instances that I've had booths and thought that they were beneficial, but being tethered to a booth is never my MO. And then we go into the future, right? So you've got this wildly important goal, this rock that they're working towards. Then you start looking into the future. What are some of the challenges that you see for marketing, emerging technologies that might make people's jobs better, easier, faster, go to market better? You know, what are some of Allison's predictions?
AI is definitely in the future, but this is not a new concept by any means. I think the people who are figuring out the new technology and how to implement it fast and efficiently are going to be the most successful. So I have a few ways that I will already use AI today, whether it's trying to put together a complex algorithm that I need to do some measurement in Excel, or if I need to optimize for search. Something interesting I started using AI for recently, I started getting ChatGPT to create Boolean searches for me in LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So I have it ask me the questions that I need to answer, and then it builds out this long chain of text that I then paste into LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and then I get the people I'm actually looking for, which has been really great. And it's just going to be this new layer of technology on top of the technology that we already have that is going to make all of this easier to use. And I'm really excited about that. I think also one of my predictions is that human always wins when selling to humans. Being a human is the best way to do that. And I think the brands that really lean into being more human and approachable and being willing to share their mistakes and just feel, I keep saying approachable, but just feeling more approachable in that way are going to win out over the brands that go tech heavy. And it feels like you're talking to a robot when you're working with that company, because we're going to see a lot more organizations start leaning that way and trying to become more efficient and more lean, but people still want to work with people. And I think that will certainly win out over time.
Yeah, the complete automation is not going to work for everybody. We want to interact with real human beings and see, look, act, smell, know that it's not a machine behind the scenes. And otherwise, we could just have our 2 machines just talk to each other. And we could just sit at home.
That's right. It's like Wall-E. We're just sitting in our chairs with our sodas and our Twinkies and just floating around.
But no, I love what I heard today. So you're really walking an early stage founder through the entire process, from finding the rock through the kind of the therapy session and the hard knocks inner look on things to determining the best path for scale afterwards. If that is the marketing events, booths, guerrilla marketing, which again, I am a big proponent of. I'm not as much of on the Google paid or pay-per-click as well. So it resonates a lot with me on what you're saying on that standpoint. So if some of our listeners wanted to get a hold of you, Allison, how do they find you?
Yeah, they can reach me at Allison@nordenmarketing.com, or they can just find me on LinkedIn and message me there. I am the only Allison Nordenbrock Brown. That's why I won't I won't change my name to Allison Brown. I told my husband, I'm like, I'm the only Allison Nordenbrock that's ever been, and I can't get rid of that.
No, thank you, Allison, for sharing your valuable insights and all your expertise, especially the stories of how you were able to work with early stage companies and work through their challenges and help lead even some of these some great and fantastic successes. So I appreciate everything you do for the startup community, and thanks for having for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Steve. I really appreciate it.